All right, ladies. So I'm just going to jump into the reason why I asked you all to join this Zoom meeting. As you know, came back from Jamaica about 2 weeks ago. Some of you may know that I came back from Jamaica about 2 weeks ago, from a trip that I took to, sorry, let me let some folks in. Hi, ladies, and welcome. I just started my presentation. Can you hear me? Tawana and Marsha. Just want to do an audio check on you. Okay, perfect. So I'd started, I kind of jumped into the presentation because I wanted to, and started recording. So I'm just letting you know that I'm recording. Wanted to jump in the presentation so that we can, any conversation around it, we can have at the end part in the essence of time, okay? So I'm just gonna jump into it. Welcome, and it's being recorded. So I'm just giving you a heads up and I'll be able to do my YouTube video after this. So I'd started to give a little bit of background as to how this meeting came about and why I initiated it. And it really is centered around something that has come to my attention as a result of the last two events that we had in Jamaica, which were my birthday event and most recently Claudette's birthday event. When in the past, when I have gone to Jamaica, it's usually just been, you kind of stay at your grandparents' home and in Montego Bay, and we kind of stayed within a very small circle. Never really engaged much with the whole tourist industry. This time, when we went, these times gave me a different perspective of Jamaica and how Jamaica is marketed. While I was in Jamaica, and during the time that I'm interacting with my aunt, who years ago used to work in the tourist industry in I think it was Half Moon Hotel in Montego Bay, and she later left that industry. And she left it because of the stress of the industry, she said. And what's happening in the tourist industry in terms of the hotel industry anyway, especially all-inclusive hotels, is the way in which people are compensated. It's not balanced. So all-inclusive hotels, they charge you for the stay. It takes up really the bulk of the expense. And then the people who work in that industry are compensated very little from that. And they rely heavily upon tips and the graciousness of people. So it's really, they pay just like in, waiters and waitresses, they paid very little, and then they have to rely off of tips. And there's really no reason for that because, the hotel industry is collecting enough money, but whatever. The last two times that we were in Jamaica, if you recall, there was a team of young people that worked with us that provided us with support. That's the focus of this meeting, because when we are able to engage with the actual people in Jamaica, we're able to make a greater impact on their lives. So let me take you back to know why this is all important. There is and this is not exclusive to Jamaica, but how young women and children are treated and being treated and exploited is something that has to be addressed. We have issues with sex trafficking, and I mean, I could go on and on in how abusive these situations are and occur because of poverty. Because these young women, when they get pregnant, you get trapped in poverty, and then men come along, exploit those situations, and then you have this toxic situation that just keeps festering generation after generation. And it seems so insurmountable. It's like, how are we supposed to address this this mammoth task? So people just don't bother. But I can't turn a blind eye to what I saw and see is going to get even worse if there is no intervention for women and children. We already know it's challenging to be a mother when you have all, here in the US, and we have support systems sometimes, and at least we have some level of, I don't even want to say civility, but you have a home, you might have space, you might have a crib, so you're able to kind of navigate motherhood in a different way. But when you're in those scenarios, it is extremely difficult for these young women. So I said, of all the women in the world, Black women are the least protected. Appomattox said it. We're not as hang on a second. Let me see if I can pause. You brush your teeth all day? Yeah. Sorry about that. So what I saw there is, okay, it looks like it's something that can't be solved. And so we just kind of go, and let's just move on with our lives. But if, as Black women, we don't look out for other Black women, nobody's going to do it. There are things that happen to women in America and around the world of other races that the things that happen to Black women, that if it were to happen to other races, would cause a big issue in the international community. And time and time again, we see these things happening and we kind of just go, man, that sucks, and let's move on. I want to try and put our heads together and say, we can figure out how to do this. And we start with our young Black mothers. And I'm picking this particular area of Jamaica because I have found some inroads in a particular community that have established a 4-H club. So I have some reach into that community. And what I want to do to be able to make an impact, an almost immediate impact into the lives of young mothers there, is to set up a team, or I'm going to create, and I've already kind of put some of these things in place, what I have called all-inclusive experiences or tours. And so it's going to really be a focus on the cultural aspect of Jamaica that has not been the focus of the tourist industry, I don't know if ever, because in tourism in Jamaica focuses mainly on, when I think of the whole Jamaican flag, that you have the gold and the green and the black, and the tourist industry has focused largely on the gold, which is the sunshine and the beaches and all that aspect of tourism. So people come into Jamaica and then they stay on, on the beaches and enjoy the sunshine and all those things. But as a result of COVID, it kind of has given Jamaican government and the leaders in the country a different focus now, where they're saying, we've put all our eggs in one basket. And as a result of COVID, it's decimated the tourist industry. And while it's starting to come back a little bit, there's a little bit more focus on the green and the black aspects of our flag. The green being the agricultural aspect. There are a lot of mineral waters and rivers in Jamaica where there are other activities to do, where tourists can travel into those areas so that some of the monies that are coming into Jamaica can make it into those areas as well. And it doesn't require people having to go all the way out to work in the hotel industry to make money. But they're, as a result of tourism that focuses on the other aspects of Jamaican society or landscape, we can design programs now that can explore those areas. And then the black aspect of the flag, which is the people, the resiliency of the people. In that case, there would be focus on the cultural aspects. And what I've done is I have designed 2 tours, experiences, if you want to call them that, all-inclusive experiences, so that that focuses on the green and the black aspects of Jamaican culture. And the way that that is going to work is I have created, through this 4-H club, some partnerships within the community. So, for example, when you think about Jamaica, you think about all these unfinished homes, or these large, these giant homes that are built, that are sitting vacant in Jamaica, while a lot of the Jamaicans in the diaspora are working there, either in England or in the UK, some place, or in Scotland, or in the United States, and their homes are sitting vacant. In this particular community, there's one gentleman that owns about 3 properties in that area, which is going to allow us, to the 4-H club, to use his property as what we would call a villa or an Airbnb, to be able to host guests that come into the area, so they don't have to stay in a hotel. Big, beautiful homes that are just sitting empty. So what we're going to do is the same thing that we did when we have traveled into Jamaica. So I'm going to list these homes under Airbnb. I can manage it on my own, but I'm going to do it through them, where I can add properties to what I currently have listed. And homes that are under that, which is what I'm going to call bed and breakfast, which under the 4-H is going to be managed through my Airbnb, and it will be listed there. So we now are able to have access to these homes, and the team that I'll put together are teams of young mothers who are going to do what these other young people did for us while we were visiting. So they're going to come in, and you're going to have like the Romeo, who is considered would be the butler, make sure that everything is kind of running smoothly. The meals, we have our cook, and then all these are going to be led by young mothers, so that they will be compensated properly for their service. And once people come through, if they like to tip them, they can do that as well. So now we have direct contact into these mothers' lives. And once they're paid, I want to put in a financial literacy program and an entrepreneurship program that now teaches them how to manage the money that they just made, how to budget, how to spend, how to invest, and then how to manage their tour business, which is what I'm going to design under this. It's going to be like a Tour Guide Apprenticeship Program, where we're going to focus on the hosting, how they take care of the house when the guests come in. Our team for our recent trip, they were a little bit formal, and I was trying to get them to loosen up a little bit, but I like that towards the end of the trip, I think even Romeo, I can't remember his other name, he went with you guys and with the driver, and they kind of looked like they were more engaging with you on a less formal, in a less formal manner, which now creates opportunities for us to have relationships beyond just them being in this work mode. So once we now have direct contact with these young women through this method, we can now provide some mentorship through them. One of the other things that I want to put in place now, like while these young ladies are either working, you know, in villas or taking a class, I'll put in place some child development program where their children will be kept and nurtured. And I'll be able to design the curriculum, which is really what I want to do. And I want to make it Montessori based so that we start to focus more on developing the skills that they need at that age. And so I'll use the research methods to design those programs so that while we're supporting the mothers, we're also helping to develop the skills that the little babies need for them to be nurtured and grown properly. So in a nutshell, that's more or less what I'd like to put in place to be able to provide some immediate support for these young women. Just going back to the apprenticeship aspect of it, where in terms of what I'm talking about with the tours, I've designed 2 tours that are all-inclusive tours. And what an all-inclusive entail, it means there will be a set price, just like when we're going on a cruise. So let's say if I say it's $1,500 for 4-day, 3-night stay in this community, it includes a Rastafari tour. And the Rastafari tour is comprised of a visit to Marcus Garvey's home in St. Anne's Bay, and then to the Firewater, which is in St. Anne. And then we're going to end at Shashamali, where there's going to be interaction with the whole Rastafari community, Nyabingi, the Chalice, and everything that is Rastafari. The food that will be provided there will be Ito food, which has its own, the way Rastafarians eat is very different from how we eat. They're more vegan. So it's going to be an entire educational aspect of Jamaica, a historical exploration of that, which will be packaged in an all-inclusive manner. The second tour is Queen Nanny Tour, in which there will be, the tour includes a visit to the historical research of Nanny and how she came to Jamaica and what she did in terms of freeing the slaves and fighting the British, and eventually ending up starting, having the whole Maroon. And now the Maroons are sovereign free people in Jamaica. And we're going to have a tour and a trip to that community. So it's really going to not only just be a historical review in terms of the theoretical part, and having the conversations behind that, but it's actually visiting these places. And at some point in the future, I'd like to, actually there's a third tour that I'd like to design, one in Port Royal. So I'm going to put that one together as a third tour at a later date. These 2, though, I think offer Jamaicans, whether it is first generation Jamaicans or second generation Jamaicans, or just Jamaicans in the diaspora and then African Americans, it will be a pathway back into our history that will lead us back into Africa, which is what Marcus Garvey was talking about and trying to promote. So if not even physically, we have to shift our focus and look back to the continent to find out where our true roots have been. And so as we go through this and navigate through these tours, it'll create other opportunities to explore our culture moving back. And at some point, I'd like to connect to Africa itself and then plan those tours over there. So the young women, young mothers who will be facilitating these, I'll be working with them directly. I'll be doing the research with them and how to present and how to do the tours. So I've put together the housing part, which is to partner with Jamaicans in the diaspora who have property in that particular part of Jamaica that's just sitting vacant. And so we have kind of engaged in an agreement where we'll manage the rental through Airbnb and give them their portion and take care of everybody that needs to be taken care of. And for the most part, that's it. The words or the concepts of experience, a tour, or a class can be used interchangeably. It's really not just the study of this, but having some discussion around it. And as we explore that, these young women and their children will start to, and just by engaging with us, women that have gone through our own growth, can now reach back and share our experiences with them. I have designed an online platform through which to facilitate this project. One is like an online teaching platform, so people can register into that course. And I need to tidy it up a little bit more, but I started putting some things in place in terms of some historical background of Marcus Garvey. His PDF of his book is included to look at some of the speeches that he wrote for us to kind of analyze and dissect and discuss some of the ideas that he was bringing forward. So as we're looking online, virtually, having those types of research and explorations and discussions, students are able to make payments on the course itself. Once the payments have been completed, then they can book their tour to go to Jamaica, because everything would have been taken care of during that time. So just like with our trip, we said, okay, we're going to go this time of year. It's going to cost us $1,500. And Marcia would just tell us when to send money incrementally. We did that. And at the end of the payments, everything was done. We're doing that same thing with this, except that the income that comes from that will be spread a little bit more equitably. It's not going to be monopolized by the all-inclusive hotels. We're going to have direct contact into the Jamaican people's lives and be able to experience things that we are not going to be able to experience in all-inclusive. So this is going to, I have a kickoff date for this event, which will be Earth Day. So I have a whole Earth Day Culture Fest planned in this little community. There is a soccer tournament that they're going to have. They're going to put on some music, have food, Nyabingi, chalice, all that Rastafari. People are going to probably may wonder what Marcus Garvey has to do with Rastafari at all. And that's going to be something that was revealed to me as I was doing my research, what the connection between Marcus Garvey and Rastafari is. So it's very eye-opening for me as a Jamaican, and then as I'm now tracking roots back. So I think it'll be equally as interesting for Jamaicans, first generation Jamaicans who have left, and then the second generation, our own children and grandchildren. So I'm putting these things in place, working with these young mothers and putting these all-inclusive packages together. I need some guinea pigs, which means, well, not just guinea pigs, but I need some feedback as to, things I might have overlooked or things that I might be able to design within this whole structure of this that might be more beneficial. So I'm throwing it out there. This is what I want to do to try to make an impact in the lives of young Black mothers. And just like when you hear, you hear Black Lives Matter, and then that turns into All Lives Matter. In this case, when we talk about Black Girls Rock, at some point, I want that to become All Girls Rock. So it's not just focusing on the girls in Jamaica, but the girls in Nicaragua, and girls in Colombia, and girls in China, and girls in Ukraine, just girls, young mothers. We have to do something to counter the effect of what's going on with this warfare that's just damaging people's lives. So this is just our little way, or my little way of reaching in and reaching back to help some of the young mothers that are struggling and being exploited as a result of that. So with that, I'm going to just kind of open it up for any type of discussion or questions that anybody may have. And kind of just move forward. So firstly, I jumped right into this whole spiel because I wanted to get this out of the way and give some people time to come in. And we have a couple folks in. I just kind of want to say hey to everyone. You just say hey back, please. And then we can kind of move forward if you have questions. So Marcia, can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Hi.
Hi, okay. And I know KK. Say hey, KK.
Hey.
Sandy, good to see you. Thank you for coming on board.
Y'all.
What's going on? Shani.
Hey, Karen.
What's going on? I see you doing big things down there in South Florida.
We trying.
Okay.
Trying to keep up with you.
You know, yeah, right. Well, you know what? We don't have to keep up. I saw what some of the things that you were doing. Hi, Denise. Welcome on board. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I just did my whole spiel, but I'm recording it, so I'll put it back through. You'll be able to kind of look at it later. I kind of just did an overview of, you know, wanting to make Black girls feel like they rock and starting in Jamaica and then moving to the rest of the world, but just showing some love to our young ladies, young mothers, starting with them and then their children. I've kind of devised a plan in which I hope to kind of roll that out. And I kind of want to, I started with the whole Earth Day festival, because Culture Fest, because the earthday.org's focus this year is invest in our planet. And there's this big movement. A lot of young people in India and other parts of the world are making this big push for climate change and, you know, trying to preserve the environment. This focus on culture and is a part of moving that forward by focusing on the green aspects of Jamaica, the medicinal benefits of the plants that we have, how we eat, which is tied into the whole I tell we Rastafarians eat, and focusing on the green aspects of it so that we can really take notice of the benefit of what agriculture and the rivers and the mineral springs, the benefits they have to our bodies. So while earthday.org is focus this year is invest in our planet, we want to support that as a part of our 4-H's mission of hands, art, head, the 4-H's. As we're looking at this whole, I'm looking at this whole tour guide project, I hope to shift a little bit of the focus of what tourism is about, which has become very capitalistic, because in the past, according to what my aunt was saying, tourists used to come into Jamaica and they used to stay with, before all these big hotels, they used to just stay with residents. You know, they had an extra room and they stayed there. And just like if you have a guest and you're hosting them. So people were able to have a lot more interaction with the culture when in the older days. As time progressed and, you know, all-inclusive hotels came about, that's created that divide between the culture and the people, the visitors and the people that are from Jamaicans. So I'm hoping that this project will help us to reshift the focus and make it more about the cultural exploration of tourism and not just the exploitation of it. And I feel badly now when I think about going on some of the cruises that have gone on and whatever, because those people are paid so little. And then after they charge us all this money to come, they charge you extra for tipping them out. And I'm just like, it's now becoming very exploitive. So, and we want to kind of end that. So I've put these packages together. I have listed them on a site. There's a website that I have that these courses are outlined in. I have a link to the Earth Day event that is upcoming. And it kind of explains it all, and it gives people options as to how they would like to, if they'd like to attend, where they'd like to stay. And I have different tiers. If people would like to have, you can go and you can stay in a villa and then be transported into the event. Or you can stay in one of the Airbnbs that will be in the community that I will be overseeing and managing along with a team of young mothers. Or there will be people's homes that they can accommodate. Those things I will be personally going through and making sure that everything is in order before I list them. And then each of these will provide people with different tiers of payment. So if you want a villa experience, you have a villa experience. If you want to stay with a 4-H experience, you have that experience. You want to stay in a farm, that experience is there. So I have created these networks of spaces within Jamaica, working with some of the Jamaicans in diaspora who have property that can now generate some funds from it. And then Jamaicans there who have massive properties and just have rooms sitting empty. So now we're going to help them to monetize it and help to create that culture, bridge that cultural divide. So, sure.
Now, explain these courses. Who's taking these courses?
So, anybody that wants to, I have to put it in a form that it was deliverable. So I put it online where it can be like, you can take a Rastafari course. The course is going to be, I have to tidy it up as I mentioned, but I have an outline of, Garvey's book and then different questions. And I have a study group. People can jump in and we have some discussion about that. So that's that online aspect. The actual experience aspect occurs when you actually go to Jamaica. So, if you're taking a course online, you might say, all right, you're going to pay $1,500 to take this Microsoft course. When you take this course, at the end and completion of paying for the course, you actually are going to be having this experience in Jamaica. So you actually, just like we did, we're actually paying it off. So if it's $1,500, somebody wants to pay it and go on their trip. Well, it's starting Earth Day, so you can't do it this weekend or next weekend. But once the course is paid for, they can now book their tour to go to Jamaica.
So you have to take the course in order to.
No, you don't. I just did that as a way for people who may want to kind of do some background before. But if, for example, you want to just take the tour, you can just go ahead and say, hey, book me 4-day weekend this weekend, get the place, and it's all inclusive. So I'm working with Marlon to facilitate the pickup and drop off. He has access to the drivers. They also have other drivers who usually they drive the little routes. They can be contracted to do driving as well, and they can make more doing this than they would driving up and down and dropping people off. So we've created some partnerships within the community where we have lodging, we have the young women who are going to manage our care team. We have the tours in place where we've kind of created some partnerships with, just like we went to the Blue Hole. It's not something that the tourist board recognizes. And there's several of those types of things throughout the island. So we're partnering and taking people into those areas that are not in tourism.
Okay. And also about the iToke eating. Now, refresh my, isn't that like without seasonings and so have you? Wasn't that when they were doing no salt and so have you?
Yeah. I don't know if some of them follow that strictly anymore. I had some iToke food. It's usually just doesn't include meat. So they still season them up nicely. They use a lot of coconut milk and those types of things that it's a lot more flavorful. So it's not like you're having flavorless food.
Because
So
when Claudette and them had it, it was like not a lot of flavor.
Bland. Oh, okay. That's right. Well, listen, remember Claudette couldn't eat salt at all. She wasn't supposed to. So, but these guys don't have it completely like that now. They flavor it up. Yeah, they flavor it. She really should not have been having it. So
okay, because that wasn't going to work for me.
No, and then what? But what? Because it's a culture fest, they'll have those foods available. But we're also going to have food vendors who do like jerk chicken and jerk all those types of things as well. I think. Let me see what Selassie wanted, because some of the events don't allow any meat at all or alcohol or some of those things. So I don't think alcohol is excluded from the event, but I'll ask him. So I've put all these things together, so it's all inclusive. Don't have to worry about food, and it will really help with Airbnb, because if you get an Airbnb in Jamaica, you know, you're like, okay, you have to go buy your own food and cook your own food, and nobody wants to do that. So putting this team of young women together will help to kind of facilitate that aspect of it. So everybody's comfortable, food is made, and then we can connect with them, which we connected with. I don't know, every time I come back from a trip, I have somebody else's number, and Sandy is finding another boo. So by doing this, Sandy can explore the whole island and find multiple.
Yeah, we're going to have to hell no on the boo. But continue.
We're not going to go down there. But so yes, so I've put this all together to support, and you know, this is all in place. So those are some great questions, Sandy. Thank you. Any more questions or concerns or something I might have?
I have a question.
Yes.
The young ladies that you're seeking to work with, is there going to be some training that they're going to go through prior to bookings?
Well, what I am going to do is I want to work with the team that we currently have, that I know through what is his name? Fernando. Both names are just weird. But anyway, so yes, so we can start with that team. So if we need to move that team and have them work there and then train the other team, then I can do that as well. So we can have that start off thing. So those are things I'm putting in place now, identifying them. So I want to kind of keep the first couple activities small so that I can kind of work out any kinks and give time for training. But most of these young people have gone through heart training. Heart has a hospitality course. So it's really just kind of someone guiding them, like Romeo, you know, Fernando was doing. And he was telling me it was kind of challenging and what he was doing, and people are set in their ways and stuff. But as I was listening to him, it made me think, okay, so if I put this program together, we can now have that kind of feedback and conversation after. Because I was trying to get them to lighten up too and say, hey guys, you know, I know that you guys are doing your thing, but you have to be so formal, you know, kind of make it, you know, I was trying to get them to relax a little bit. And I said, you know, you can get more tips if people really like you, kind of just work on, you know. So I wanted to kind of help them in that arena. And then once they get that done, then we can, you know, and they're getting paid. Now I have another program in place to help them with budgeting, et cetera, and stuff to manage the money.
And the other question, the person you said it has kind of like the villa.
Mm-hmm.
Are they like, how many rooms, like how big is the villa?
There are 3 separate properties that he owns, and I have to go. I didn't see them when I was there during my trip. So I'm going to get those details and information so I can upload it by the April 22nd date.
Okay.
So yeah. So what would be helpful to another question, Marsha?
No, I figure you'll find this information. I'm gonna guess you don't know this yet.
Okay.
How close those properties are to each other. So if it's
okay. Right. Yeah. So some of those logistics, this is why I need some of the drivers there, but it's good to kind of have those people in there. And Marlon is, you know, he's really sharp. He has a business mind. But even the drivers that are doing these trips need training, because I mean, like I said, people can be more personable. I said, like, we fired one guy because he didn't get it. So
Yeah.
those are things
Don't get it, Andrew.
yeah.
See,
him.
he remembers his name.
Yeah. I remember his name.
No more.
He left a mark on
allowed to be hired on Sandy's
Right.
Watch. Okay, where they from?
So it's really now kind of also giving some of that support and training and to like kind of lighten up, you're in tourist, you're the face of Jamaica, put on a good face, and don't just expect a tip because you are here. I want you to give good service and be, approachable and, so the young woman was Tamar's hair. But I want us to become a little bit more involved. I want us to, engage more. When we leave, I don't want it to be goodbye. I want it to be, hey, here's, your thing, so we can continue to send people to them. And just like we do for Marlon, really help Marlon business. He said that we have been a tremendous help to him and getting his business going. He gets referrals all the time now, so he's able to pass it down.
I can say that the training that they get, I think they start off right in that they have to first feel out who the guests are.
Yes,
Start
that's
off
correct.
very formal, and
That's
because
correct.
we were laid back, then they're like, okay,
It
I guess.
loosened up.
But
Absolutely.
if we start off with that laid back, they might have
No.
Act like we're friends.
We're right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree fully. We gave them permission to do that, but I did like the professionalism the approach that they took. I absolutely did. I agree. So that will give us room for training. So I don't have to do all the training like Claudette had mentioned at one point. She said, just being a business cooperative, we have people that can kind of go in and do some different types of trainings and different types of counseling. I got to reach in and ask Pastor Marsha, she works with a lot of women. We just need a lot of girl support. Lots of things can happen. If you have a birthday party you'd like, we can put that together. If you have a wedding or you just want to go and chill with your girls, we can put the package together and have some girl support for girl and go down there and explore and interact and engage in a more meaningful way. And maybe dispel some of the negativity that we're hearing about Jamaicans and how dangerous it is and all this stuff. It's really, really detrimental to the tourist industry. So I'm hoping that we can do this. So with that said, I have a couple links that I'd like to send to you ladies. I don't know if I could probably even put it in chat, but what I'd like you to do is if you go through for me, I have this event coming up and I need some auditors. I know Marsha usually audits stuff, go through, okay, this link didn't work, that didn't work, I didn't understand that, you misspelled this word, whatever. If you would go through that for me, the invitation to the Culture Fest at the end when people can choose what they want gives them an option of if you want to be a sponsor, if you want to be a vendor, if you want to stay in a villa or you want to stay with a 4-H'er, it gives them a multitude of options. Okay, so we'll test those out. Let me know if those work. And then I also have a link to the class 1, where you can just take the class if you can't go to the Earth Day one, but you want to kind of go explore, you want a payment, something that stretches out your payment, and at the end you can book your thing. That Mistress Do class, I have that link. So if you can go through that as well and tell me if it works and if there are any issues, and then my website, because what I want to do at some point is once I get all this solidified is it can be promoted by the Jamaica Tourist Board to other tourists and marketed that way. So I want it to be set up right and then tested, tried and proven, and then I'd like it to be promoted by the Tourist Board. So your critique, your feedback, your booking or plan a trip, I'll talk to Marsha and maybe we can find a time in the future where we can say, hey, let's go plan a trip for something. I don't know if we need to find who birthday coming up soon. I don't know. We'll find a reason to go down there and just kind of keep the tires around and give it a try and whatever. So please check the online component of it, see, give me some critical feedback on that. And then if we can, at some point, if you have any girlfriends, you want to plan a booking. I was going to do something for my daughter for her birthday, but she is going to be deploying soon. So the month before they won't give her any leave. But I promised to do something for her at another point, another big thing. She don't have no big nothing. That we get, her big things got killed. So that is it. So I will send those links to you. Please send me some individual feedback on that after you've visited and tried it out, and what can be done, and how, if and when you'd like to support, and then we can go from there. All right. So if there are no other questions, then I will be following up with the link, just a thank you summary, blah, 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 and then a link to these different sites. And if you check them out, and then maybe I can create a discussion group, or maybe just send me an individual message. Karen, this is it. This doesn't work. Whatever, this works. Or what does this mean, or whatever. Okay. So I just need another set of eyes, and then another set of ideas. So I know some very intelligent women. And I know this problem is huge, but Marcia knows I'm pinky in the brain type thing. There's got to be a way we can take over the world. We have.
I don't have a question. I just want to put out there.
Yeah.
Marlon was stolen.
What was stolen?
Marlon.
Marlon was stolen?
Yes. You can figure that out later.
Oh, okay. Aaron, Marlon is stolen.
He's stolen. Oh, from who? From whom?
Okay, so inside, we'll talk about that later.
Oh, Marche.
I know.
So I don't have a question, but I do have a couple of comments. One, I think as you begin to build things out and get your scheduling and everything together, and listening to the whole call and the prior video that you posted on YouTube, as the call and the vision started to come together and progress, I lose sight of your original passion around the domestic violence or the young women in Jamaica. And so you need to, as you start to build out, make sure you weave that in so that it doesn't just become another travel agency that's focused on the cultural, the in-depth cultural aspects.
Sure. Absolutely.
You want to differentiate from you don't want anybody to ask, well, what's different from you? I could do that in
right.
And really just putting forth
Yes.
in some kind of way that ultimately you're looking to impact the women that are disenfranchised or going through significant issues in Jamaica, and you're looking to help the women and the families. And
I can address that real quick, Tawana, if you hold the other point, because the reason I focused on this particular point first was before I can talk about implementing mental health or anything else, other support that may need, I had to address the main issue, which was the economic issue, so that we can stabilize them. So if we know I have a place to stay, they have some food and they have some stability, then it's easier now that we have some contact. It's easier now to say, all right, now we can put some other things in. So I didn't focus on that aspect. I just needed to have access to them. Once we have access, there's a multitude of things that I have in mind to do outside of just the child care center. And that input, I would greatly appreciate y'all's input as well. So thank you. Great point, Tawana. Thank you.
No problem. And I think the other thing in line with what you just said is there's the economic aspect of having them work within the program. But what else will they? Well, I guess you'll address education, supplemental education, and different things, so that they could become even more self-sufficient or move into employment opportunities that outside of hospitality, or even within the mainstream tourism that may bring in an increased level of financial independence.
Sure.
The other thing that I was just thinking of, and I'm not sure how feasible this is. I don't know if it exists already. I think it may be a niche that may have a gap there in society. I mean, YouTube, people look at YouTube to learn a lot of things, but I don't think I've ever seen anything on YouTube where you have where there's an aspect where you can pay for a nominal fee, where you can have somewhat of a cultural immersion virtually. And that might be another aspect to add, so that there's some that will travel and there's some that where they can do that cultural immersion. It could be, whereby once funds have been accumulated, if they enlist for the cultural immersion virtually, perhaps they sent all the ingredients for a ITAL cooking session, and you're live on camera preparing a ITAL meal in Europe, in America, in wherever, and having dialogue and working those that are dialogue with those that are preparing the meal for those that are on the actual tour in the country, or some sort of virtual aspect like that, or even like a virtual immersion where there's open dialogue and you're there for that virtual session and you're learning fatwa, so different things like that where like I said, like they have virtual conferences for churches and all these different things, and fees for that. So charge a fee. Want to have the virtual version, it's $55 or whatever for whatever, or how. So that's another thing to consider, to parallel with it as well.
Yeah, great idea. And
so
these,
I don't know who was talking, but there is this thing called Patreon, where it's like a subscription based thing that most YouTubers use if you want to pay them directly, meaning like you would do like $25 a month or whatever, if that's kind of what you're talking about, whoever was speaking. Sorry, I only heard partial of whatever was being said, but
no worries. I am familiar with Patreon. I refuse to pay the bloggers monthly, but I'm not really referring to Patreon because remember, the touring event is going to be based on how many tours that you have. So it's not so much a monthly subscription. It's more like if you think about a conference, a church conference or something like that. There's a 3-day conference, and COVID, the pandemic has changed the way things function. In the past, post 3 years ago, a conference would have been real time. You travel to Atlanta, you travel to Florida, you travel to wherever for that 3-day conference. But now I've noticed that a lot of individuals hosting their various conferences, they have the physical conference, but then they have but you can also attend virtually for those 3 days for X amount of dollars. And so while I'm familiar with Patreon, it's not that they were pointing to.
Yeah. But Tawana, what you're mentioning speaks to what research has shown is needed to help bring people up from the bottom of the economic ladder up, which is through small and medium enterprises. And they're doing some of these similar programs in various parts of Africa and other parts of the Caribbean as well. This is just our version of that. So from this particular project, there can be multiple other projects that break off from it that either the young women can do themselves. So if they want to teach a class virtually, I'm interacting with a young woman, she does CMOS. So we were talking yesterday about the benefits of CMOS or whatever. So she can create an online class. So she has an online presence. Some of these young women don't have access to that. So what I'd like to do is to be able to provide them access to that as well. So in these very homes that we're going to be using, to make sure Wi-Fi access is there so that they can, if they want to make some extra money, host a class or a course, we can provide those opportunities for them. And any other ideas that we have to help kind of bring this forward and make them independent. These are some of the things that we can put in place after the fact. I really wanted to create an avenue in, and that was why I wanted to focus on this particular aspect of it to get this going. But the build out in terms of providing some of the parental support, support with childcare and development, nutrition classes, higher education, scholarships, and I would like to engage the historically Black universities and engage with them to participate in this. When I thought about doing scholarships, I was like, it may be challenging for these young mothers because they have babies. But if there's a way for us to navigate around that, where, I was in college and I had kids. So even if we can create an avenue where they can maybe take the babies with them and continue their education, we have access to them. Once we have access to them now, I want to be able to pair them up with a mentor, another Black woman that can kind of help guide them through that. So, and then there's so many women that I know that are doing projects with either women or girls that they can kind of bring, that are in the diaspora, that can kind of bring these type of programs in to these young women in Jamaica. So these are great ideas, and I'm sure there are a whole bunch of other I'm telling you, the opportunities to the business in Jamaica right now, they abound. I was just talking to Ali about doing a thrift type thing. She wants to do like a brick and mortar thrift store type of a concept. They're into thrifting and make things looking nice. Jamaicans aren't really into that. They think, I don't want to buy people's junk. But it's a paradigm shift that needs to happen, because I used to think that way too. When Ali was thrifting, I was like, thrifting. But when I look at the things she has, I'm like, dang, she has some really nice things that she got from Goodwill, or people were giving away or donating. We can get those things and we can set that up as another means through which to kind of generate income. So every idea that provides an avenue to generate income is welcomed, or to provide support or training, or just some sister love, one young parent to another, so that when my children and grandchildren visit Jamaica, they can connect with someone else in Jamaica that, through this young woman, maybe they develop a friendship with my daughters and then their children. And then now we keep that connection going, and my grandchildren don't lose contact with their cultural aspects of their Jamaican heritage, and then for others as well. And then we can go throughout the Caribbean. So this is just the beginning. So
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. To Tawana's point about how they could possibly move beyond working in the service industry. I remember there's one of the links I'd sent you. They asked me to do some research.
Yes.
You may remember we saw this in China as well, that there's a way to recruit volunteers where basically they're paying to go down for a certain amount of time. So if we use the villas for that, so
yes.
Let's say for what Tawana's talking about, if you get let's say, okay, so you know these different women that's in that area, let's say some of them are interested in business, and then you have people who are like Tawana who work in that certain realm. While they're there, they actually also train the young women that may be working there. So then they're getting the service. So we kind of dual purpose, going in there teaching certain skills.
Yes.
There, another time somebody may want to open a restaurant. Then you have different people who own restaurants. So Claudette and Tiggy and so on. Okay, hey, here's how we do certain things in marketing. And so it's a way that we can tie in a business training without. So it's like a vacation for the volunteers, but the ladies who are working it are going to be learning from the people that are staying at the at the
perfect. Because Claudette mentioned that too. That's a great idea. I mean, there's so many things that can happen from this. I just, just those 2 trips we took opened my eyes, because normally I don't go to Jamaica and have this, we usually either at the house or something else. So this was the first time that I had to encounter this, and I said, okay, and really had connections with people. So we can make it more purposeful. As you said, Claudette mentioned at some point, like she has a nonprofit organization. If you have a nonprofit, it can do things to raise money, so we can pay for people to go. If you, we want speakers to go down, we'll pay for them to go down and And then we know the expenses are going to be minimal because, we have everything else already kind of covered. So I definitely need an infusion of knowledge from the diaspora, experience, everything that we have, we can kind of help to support these women and their children. I'll do everything in my power to make sure that whatever childcare program is put in place is giving the babies the best advantage and edge in life as possibly can. And of course, that starts with the nurturing. So I think it only appropriate it comes from women that look like them. So please keep the ideas going and flowing. And I'd like to after I have done a summary of this, we can have a follow-up if they've had a chance to kind of think through some things and looked at the sites that I send you, generate some ideas or questions that we can help continue to have some dialogue about. But my most immediate activity right now, event, is working on that Earth Day event that we have in Minard Hill. The government in that area, and just like in most government, is just really bad in Jamaica, is like molasses. They are so slow. And it really is an impediment to business, but they're trying to clean that up so that there will be a seamless flow of business activities, engagement between Jamaicans in the island and Jamaicans in the diaspora. So Jamaica is open to that. I'm pushing this event. So if you could look through that page, let me know. And then at some point, let's plan a trip. And then I want to definitely build on that idea that you mentioned, so that it can, even if people, that's another way of monetizing, even if people can't come right away. So I want to start to generate as much as I can immediately. The pandemic has been very, very difficult on Jamaicans. It's been 2 years. They don't have any support. It's not like the government was giving them anything. So they're in a desperate situation. So now that things are bouncing back a little, we want to kind of move forward with kind of getting this through and getting them some support. Okay, so any other questions or concerns or discussion item topics? Okay. All right, so if there are none, I want to thank you for jumping on the call and listening to my spiel and my heart. And I sent you ladies that Black Girl Rocks, some links to that. That was very inspiring for me. I'm surprised it didn't get more views and likes and whatever. I don't know if people even know about it, but we want our young women to know that Black Girl Rock. But even more importantly, moving beyond that, is all girls rock. And we need to really, really drive that fact home so that we can kind of intervene in some of the abuses that are happening, child trafficking, all that is as a result of lack of parental support. So whatever we can do to mitigate that, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time and talents, and look for a follow-up message.
Before you go.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Tijuana.
Said Tijuana. Is Tawana there still? She's still
nice. Hello, how are you?
I know this isn't a very warm, fuzzy call. I know that we have a reunion, but I know I don't know what Sam, she's handy, has a granddaughter. I know KK has the baby and stuff. So I just wanted to make this point, give us a chance to think about it, and then we can come back again at another time, maybe to express our ideas and thoughts. Okay. So thank you again for your time. And I will be in touch with a follow-up message. Okay. Over and out.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys.
Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye.